Hello, and what is up, everybody? We just finished the Heat Hawks Summer League games. We got a post game for you guys today. Today, I'm joined by the OG Five Reasons is verified insider, Greg Sylvander. Greg, how we doing today?
Good. I mean, it's unfortunate that they didn't get the W, but there's some good stuff to take from this. I thought it was a fun game. We were talking pre-show. It was fun.
Yeah, fun game to watch. Definitely some good things to take from this that we will touch on. And we also have, Mr. Fight Night himself coming fresh off of his first credentialed media appearance, Johnathan Ramakant. So first of all, congratulations to you, Johnathan, because that is dope. And how are you doing today?
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I'm doing great, dude. Like you said, went out there last night, came back home from Miami about 5 o'clock, from about 4 hours away. So came back home like 5 o'clock. But as far as the game goes, like you said, it was a fun game. Lots of highlights. I mean, some of the players in the Hawks played their ass off as well. But like you said, a lot of bright spots from the Heat coming from this game for us to break down.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's been some really fun things to watch throughout Summer League. I don't think we had a chance to talk about what we saw from the Utah game, but that game almost feels like a bit of a lost cause because I feel like today we saw a lot of good things. This is a great comment here from Dean Millard. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. We got screwed by officiating to end that game. I totally agree, but still loving what I'm seeing from Strus, Yurtseven, and Giroux. So those have really been the three guys, along with Marcus Garrett, who have absolutely stood out. Greg, we'll start with you. Pick one of those guys that you want to touch on, maybe what you think their role should be or how we should be looking at them.
I mean, there's obvious hope trafficking to be done with all these young guys, and one of them didn't play today that I think is probably maybe the most intriguing out of all of them, if I'm being honest. Maybe not most intriguing. Yurtseven has his own kind of tier, but Max Strus is the guy. Like, this is somebody that they're going to have to rely on, and I just like the game over game. He is clearly one of the best players that's there. And that includes all of the recent rookies. And it doesn't mean he'll be better players than them forever. But for now, at age 25, he stacks up. And I think that just, to me, he's going to be able to slot in on some 3-guard lineups, play some backup 3. Like, I like the idea of giving Max Strus that shot, and he's shown up. So that's kind of the story for me so far.
Yeah, no, for sure. Strus has been really, really fun to watch. And like, I think the biggest thing with his development is, like, we know he's known as that catch and shoot guy. But the two things, one, he just looks like a leader out there. He's taken everybody under his wing. I think that is a really dope thing to do, seeing him mic'd up. I mean, he is a confident human being. Like, he believes in himself, and you have to respect that. So I really appreciate that from Strus. But also just the ability to create off the bounce is just the most important thing to me. I don't expect him to do this going into next year. Like, if Strus is ISOing, that'd be a bit of a surprise. But if he's able to just, like, 1 to 2 dribbles on a pull-up right after the closeout comes and he takes over a bent defense, I'm cool with it. And Strus looks like a contributor. Johnathan, between Omer and Diki, which one are you rocking with today?
I got to go with Omer, man. I mean, I felt like he had a great game. All of his looks were the looks that you want him to get. I feel like, if he were to ever get the chance to play next to Kyle Lowry, he'd just make Omer such a good player. I mean, the pick and pops with him have been fire. He has a really nice touch around the rim as well. I mean, there's not much more you could say about him that hasn't been said recently. I mean, he's been coming out and showing out lately, but the only thing I got to keep in my back of my mind is y'all be ready to trade this guy for Damian Lillard if that comes up. And
we're not even gonna
attach to all these guys.
We can't talk about any trades or anything like that right now. These guys, they're just turning into solid summer league players. So we'll wait for them to turn into actual NBA assets, but that's totally fine. Yeah, actually, since I get to talk about Diki, I'm very happy about this. He's impressive. He's an impressive player, specifically in the pick and roll. He at times, when he started out in Summer League, was a little trigger happy with trying to take the ball up at the rim and maybe didn't have some of the best shot attempts. But he's slowed down since then. And I mean, today's stat line, Dean Millard, once again with clutch comment, 14 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, 0 turnovers on 66, 180 splits. Now, those splits aren't too indicative of much, but that's solid. That's a glue guy. That is someone who takes the right shots. Like, this is something that could end up fitting on the Heat. And when you look at the players that could potentially come off the bench as a guard and fit next to Tyler Hero, I think what Diki gives you breaking down the defense and going downhill actually would be something that really, really fits. He maybe doesn't have the elite defensive skill set that Marcus Garrett has, but I mean, he gets the job done, and he is probably going to be one of the few guys from this summer league team that can actually help make other players better just because he's good with the ball in his hands and makes things easy. So I've been really, really impressed with Diki. Greg, I'll go to you here. Are you viewing him as the second guy for the two-way spot?
I think so. I think he's the leader in the clubhouse there. I mean, you see the stuff he does, like just packing the stat sheet with the rebounds and assists and the steals, but then like 5 free throw attempts. Like I think that was second as I'm looking here. Only Yurtseven had more free throw attempts. Like if he can bring any element of that, even in limited minutes in the 50 games that he would get as a two-way player, I feel like having these extra guards in the pipeline is going to be good and beneficial for them. And a lot of these other guys that are on the team, while I like some of the things they bring, I don't know that they can make the type of impact that Diki and obviously Marcus Garrett can make.
Yeah, I totally agree. Johnathan, are you in lockstep with us here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I mean, one guy that surprised me a little bit, and maybe, future years coming, you look at him as a big man. I mean, McCoy is great on the defensive and offensive glass.
Energy.
So I love what I saw from him as well. But as far as the top two, I'm right there with you guys.
Yeah, it's just, I think for the two-way spot, some years maybe you would just look at like get the best player available on the team. I think it just makes so much sense the way this team is constructed. You don't have guard depth, and like Gabe Vincent is your third on-ball guard.
It's true.
I like to talk about Gabe Vincent in a positive light, but there's nothing that shows me that you can comfortably rely on him to be that guy going into an NBA season, going into an 82-game season. But I think what Marcus Garrett and Diki give you is like differentiated from Gabe a little bit. But all those guys fit alongside Hero because you get point of attack defense. You get some guys who go downhill, some guys who shoot threes. Gabe, who does a little bit of both, but he doesn't really do either one consistently.
And wingspan.
Yes. Like they're bigger guards though. Like Marcus and Diki, they're large. I think they're like 6'5". So that really helps alongside Hero because that help defense and that activity really helps a lot. We got a comment here from.
As you get to the comment quickly, like you're so spot on because all they need is one of these guys to like pop and it changes the complexion of the guard depth, right? So like I think.
Did we freeze?
Yeah, he thinks. You go ahead and finish the sentence.
Okay, he thinks that these guys would be a good fit alongside Hero and is excited to see them, but he wants to read Belinsky Pierre's donation. So let's get to the dono here. Belinsky Pierre, I do not want to lose hope on KZ, but he looks lost. Yeah, I guess, Johnathan, let's have this conversation once again. It's been a common conversation, but what is the role? Like, when you break it down to its most simple fashion, what role can KZ contribute on this team, if anything?
It's hard to say if anything right now because defensively, the things you want him to do, he can do. The physical traits are there, but he doesn't have the wherewithal and the court IQ to not foul and not be over aggressive and not, put himself in bad positions defensively. And as far as the offense goes, man, he's just a train wreck when it comes to there. There was a point where Diki was at the top of the key and he was clapping, calling for the ball from KZ.
That stood out to me.
Open. He wasn't wide open, but he was decently open. And what did that play become? He tried to drive in. He got stopped defensively. He kicked it out, and it became a bad shot anyways. So KZ has a lot of learning to do. And, I mean, if you have somebody like Diki clapping you on, trying to lead you, and you're in your third year, that's a really, really, not a good spot to be in. So it's really tough to see what KZ's role can be. And, I mean, you can't put him in there because offensively he doesn't give you anything. His three-point shot has not really improved. I mean, you wanted him to be kind of like Derrick Jones Jr. Derrick Jones Jr. exponentially growed with his time with the Miami Heat, and KZ has not done that at all. At first, you might have thought, he had that Achilles issue. He was coming in. You're going to slowly get him into there. He had flashes in that Sacramento Kings game of what he can do defensively, and early this season against Denver when he was the point of attack defender against Jamal Murray. But we don't get anything consistent from him, and I think that's what this team is being built around now, and there's a lot more consistency, and I don't see a spot for him, at least in the rotation, unless he does something and makes some major changes.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think there's about 2 months till the season starts. There needs to be some exponential growth, at least in one specific category, whether it's like shooting threes or just passing the ball, whatever it may be. There needs to be some sort of IQ or something to click for him to have a role on this team, because I've been on Twitter saying all you need him to do for it to be a success is for him to be the 11th man, the Derek Jones Jr. of this team, where he plays spot minutes at the end of a half and you can maybe play him for 5 minutes a pop, and that's totally fine. But Derek Jones Jr., there was some skills there, like some tangible NBA level skills, some skills that were borderline elite. Like, he's a really, really good help defender. Defensively, he has the instincts. He's a really good roll man because of how athletic he is and how aggressive he is attacking the rim. And I don't see any one of those skills on KZ. So it really sucks. I think at this point, a lot of it has to be mental, because he looks worse in Summer League than he did in the NBA. And he didn't look good in the NBA, but it was at least, there were some moments where you're like, okay, that's a serviceable NBA player. There's moments where he doesn't look like a serviceable Summer League player. So I really hope he's able to figure it out. It's not going to happen in Miami. Similar to the situation with Precious. I just don't think the development was going to be able to work out in Miami. So it sucks. I hope he's able to figure it out. Don't think it's going to happen with us. Royal's going off on KZ in the comments. KZ's role is Jimmy's personal assistant. KZ is the new Tyler Hero. Oh, we got Ben here with another comment. KZ would be a great
one. That's a great one.
I mean, the slander has been like top notch, but it really sucks because it's someone that everybody wants to see succeed or wanted to see succeed. I think the tides have changed a little bit. But it's really, 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 really been frustrating. And there's 4 guys standing out on the Summer League team, and he's not one of them. So,
and he's the most really tenured player on the Summer League team, I believe, right?
Yep, I think so. I mean, he's been on the Heat for 3 years. He's been in the G League. He hasn't really played much on the G League or the NBA, but experience is experience. At some point, you have to learn how to be a professional. He doesn't particularly look like one right now. I guess Greg isn't here. I wanted to ask Greg another question about the team's roster construction. But, Johnathan, where do you stand on the Udonis Haslem side of things?
I mean, at the end of the day,
I giving him that spot?
Go ahead. Would you?
Are you comfortable with giving UD that spot?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, you understand that the 15th player on every other team's roster isn't a major contributor anyways, right? And what he's able to do on the bench, and he's able to do something from a player's perspective, right? You go in there, you respect the coach, you have respect for the coach, you listen to the coach, but it's more like a father figure, right? When you have somebody like Udonis Haslem, it's more like a big brother who's kind of gone through the battles, has been battle tested, and is able to tell you from real life experience what to do, how to act. He leads Bam, tells Bam to lead the huddles, do little things like that. It's going to help immensely in the player. I think Bam's the most important, but it's going to help immensely in some of these younger players' development, because these young guys are absolute dogs. And now you have the big, captain OG dog sitting there and how he's going to be leading them. And on top of that, we have, PJ Tucker, we got Morris coming in, we got Kyle Lowry. This team is going to shape out to be really, really nasty. And if UD plays more than 5 minutes next year, I would be really surprised, but I still think he'll have a more prominent role than most 15th men on other rosters.
Yeah, the good thing with UD, first of all, I love that you called him Big Captain Dog. Is Big Captain OG Dog? I think that's the nickname that you just gave him. That's
Big Captain OG Dog.
Big Captain OG Dog. I love that. Brian Drake in the comments, culture coach. Also, I mean, that's really what he is at this point. If you want to look at where culture stems from, Jimmy and Pat, or not Jimmy, UD has been here the longest for a player. He's been here from D Wade and on. That's a lot of culture in that time frame. So he's got a lot of it in him. And I can't wait for those 2 or 3 culture minutes that he gets later in the year, which are obviously going to end up winning us a game. But yeah, no, I'm cool with giving UD the spot. It just sucks because on this roster, KZ looking like a sunk cost is really, really hurting the depth, because you do need wing depth. Like if for some reason Jimmy Butler like rolls an ankle, misses like 2 or 3 games, those 2 or 3 games are going to be really, really tough because you don't have wings on this team. You just do not. You have Duncan, Strus, Jimmy, KZ.
Yeah. It would be outside of that, a glaring hole.
It's really a problem. And like you can consider Hero in that area, but I don't really trust him to guard players that are wings because he's just not strong enough yet. Maybe he can get there to this year, but I'm not relying on that. So the depth is really an issue.
I'm sorry, he can't. He's not going to be
So
able to guard no wings this year.
Mhm. And a lot of people say when you're looking at either the 15th spot or signing UD, it doesn't matter because you're looking at the 14th and 15th guys. But you have KZ gone. You have Haslem who's not going to play a minute. You have Depot who's not going to play probably until like February. Being generous, people say January, but I just don't know how you can really trust a man to come in his time frame based upon the surgeries that he's had and whatnot. So I'm saying February, March. That's a thin roster. Like, we will be totally fine up until injuries happen. But if injuries happen, which they typically do, fingers crossed, but typically they do happen, that is going to be some very interesting games. So we can be totally fine. I love UD, but there's going to be a depth issue at some point this year. And I really hope that the people who are all in on signing UD now, totally cool with it. But you have to be willing to accept the fact that there's going to be moments where the depth sucks. And we're going to be looking at those 14 to 15 spots saying, we need something here. But anyways, I think KZ is probably more of the issue than it is UD because UD at least brings some tangible value to the team. KZ doesn't right now. Let's get some questions from the comments here, actually, since I probably got 15 or so more minutes.
I got this one. This was a pretty good one.
Ooh, okay. You want to try to read this name?
Yeah, Karthik Sundarsan.
Much better than I would have done. Okay. Do you want to get the comment?
Oh, yeah, I got any chance the Heat scout around for an athletic wing in Summer League? Don't know if 2 guards for the 2-way is the move. What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't be surprised. I think that's something that people are kind of ruling out just because Marcus Garrett, I think Marcus Garrett is the one that he's going to end up being on a 2-way. Diki's impressed. He's had some really, really good moments. I wouldn't be surprised if they did try to get a wing, though, because you can sign players from the other Summer League teams. The Heat have done it before. Or you can sign players from a 2-way from another G League team if they don't have the Exhibit 10 rights. So I personally haven't seen someone where they stand out to me as like, oh, this wing would make sense, but it wouldn't surprise me to see the Heat do something like that. I just think when you look at Marcus Garrett and Diki saying that those would be the two hypothetical guards, they're long enough to the point where I'm totally fine with Diki guarding 1 through 2. He's not strong enough to guard 3s, but he is the guard defender. I think Marcus Garrett is strong enough to guard some NBA level wings. So if you're looking at the bench lineups, I think Marcus Garrett can stick with a lot of these guys. He's strong enough. He's got some dog. He's really long, 6'5", 6'11" wingspan. I mean, there's length there to size up defensively, and it's not going to be in big moments or for big minutes. So I'm totally cool with those two, but it wouldn't surprise me if they looked around for another athletic wing from other teams in Summer League, and maybe that's where the second spot goes to.
Yeah, it would be tough for us to really just go into the season knowing that Jimmy Butler is going to miss some time at some points, right? He's never really been fully healthy for a full season. So there's going to be a week or two where he missed some spots, thank God. Or we don't even know what the COVID situation is going to be looking like. So can't even rule that out at this point. But I think it's going to be a dangerous situation for us to put ourselves in a spot. So go into the season not having a real backup for Jimmy Butler. I mean, you can maybe put PJ Tucker there, right? But now who do you slot in at the 4? Does that lineup become viable offensively? You try to think about how that would work. Maybe Yurt becomes a great player, right? So you have, PJ, Yurt, Bam front court. And maybe that's something that works when you have Kyle Lowry at the 1.
That would be crazy defensively. I would hate to be playing against that team.
And then Kyle Lowry at point of attack.
Yeah, like Kyle Lowry and Jimmy. You would need PJ to hit above the break 3s, which is not his strong suit. He's pretty bad at it. But there's some chess pieces. That's the one thing that has grown on me with the whole PJ signing is there's just so many different places that he fits. And what this team had in the bubble was versatility and dog. They have that now. They didn't have it last year. So the versatility is going to be key. Let's get to some more questions here.
I want to shout out to my boy Brian Drake with a $5 dono saying James Ennis is on line 1.
I'm cool with that. If you can figure out a way to give him KZ's spot, because it looks like the team wants to stay under the tax. And I do understand. I understand the team staying under the tax. It makes sense. It just doesn't make sense that you can go over the tax now and then get under the tax later. That hasn't been a problem for the Heat in the past. I'm pretty surprised that they're not looking at doing that. Maybe they will, but from what we've heard from reporting, specifically from Barry Jackson, they aren't looking to add that 15th man right now. Whether it's buyout or whatever it may be, they're just not looking to do it. I think it's interesting because you have a clear lack of depth now. You want to try to go into the season with as many holes filled as possible, but I understand it. The not going into the tax totally makes sense. But yeah, James Ennis works. I would be cool with James Ennis. He fills a role as like an athletic wing. He had one of the greatest dunks in Heat history, and then he did nothing else with the Heat after that. But that's totally cool. So let's get to another one here from Dean Millard.
Oh, Dean, gotcha.
Ooh, yeah, we'll go to Dean first, and we'll get to Brian. Do you think we'd add more value to the team with the biannual exception now, or saving it for a potential buyout guy at the trade deadline? I think it'll definitely be a potential buyout guy at the trade deadline. I don't see it being now because the biannual makes it tougher to get back under the tax. And if you use the biannual closer to the deadline, then it's a prorated deal. So you're really only probably costing like $1.3, $1.4 million to the cap, as opposed to the 3.6 I think that it is now. So biannual makes more sense at the deadline. I think it's smart of them to hold on to it because that would be one of the reasons that you would go into the tax, maybe to get a player that can actually make an impact. Because right now, the people who are still available are minimum guys outside of like Josh Hart and a few other players. And those players are still available because they're having restricted free agency issues. So I'm not expecting them to use the biannual anytime soon. Johnathan, let's get you to answer this one. From Ben, if your life was on the line, who would you take in a one-on-one game, Strus or Hero?
Strus, easily, for sure. I mean, his defense is better, and I feel like his rim pressure is a little bit better too, right? He's able to drive on you. With Tyler Hero, you take away his drive. He doesn't have a screener to help him out. So I mean, without the screen, that boy's pretty much useless.
This is true. That's honestly, you made some fantastic points there. That would be a fun game to watch. Hopefully they do like some Hard Knocks or something where we get to watch that. Let's get to Brian's question. Can a contracted Heat player play long stretches in the G League? Asking for a friend. I think this question is sarcastic, but yes, we can send KZ to the G League for as long as he wants. The only problem is we're going to be having 11 players active pretty much. So that's a bit of an issue. But honestly, the kid needs reps, or the dude, the man. I think he might be older than me, so I can't call him a kid. Yeah.
Isn't Michael Beasley in the summer league?
He is. The Trailblazers are doing the funniest summer league team of all time. They have Kenneth Faried, Emmanuel Mudiay, and Michael Beasley.
Wow. I'm surprised Ben Simmons isn't on the Sixers for the summer league year.
Hey, he can get Rookie of the Year this year.
That's
he
what
can
I'm
get
saying.
It outright. There's no Donovan Mitchell to compete with.
So he's good to go. He can come back, say that it's his first season. I mean, he still's playing like it's his first season. He hasn't really developed much.
Same player he was 4 years ago. But hey, what do I know? Yeah. Any other questions from the comments here? I did want to touch on one thing with get your opinion on it, Johnathan. Omer. So 2 years ago, or Omer, Yurtseven, by the way. I was saying Yurtseven. I was corrected on Twitter. It's Yurtseven. So now we know. Omer Yurtseven has the build of a player of a stretch five who can fit alongside Bam. Do you think this year we see Bam Omer lineups at all?
At all?
Like if we got super lucky with injury, no injuries, do we see Spo try that lineup out?
I think if he's getting sent down to the summer league, or sorry, if he's getting sent down to the G League and he's producing numbers and he becomes undeniable, like he's kind of doing during right now in the summer league, you have to give him some kind of shot. I mean, the way he's able to fit himself everywhere, he's able to operate out of the top of the post, operate from the top of the post, find people working from the top of the key. He's able to, operate inside. And he has that little jump shot. He's able to score. Really, he's a 3-level scorer because he takes the mid-rangers.
No, he is for sure. He is.
So he does a little bit of everything. The worry about him is what he can do defensively because he's a little bit skinny for obviously being that length. But you've seen him hold up to a decent amount against other centers in the summer league. So you worry about that a little bit less. Like I think Max Strus said, his length is very surprising to other teams' players because he just knows how to use his body really well compared to somebody like hopping on the rag train. Unlike KZ, who doesn't know how to fling his arms or use his arms and just kind of flings them out and gets fouled. But Yurt's somebody who can knows how to use his body. His stroke is pure. He can shoot the free throw. That's huge for a big man.
It is.
And I mean, like I said, if he becomes undeniable, I wouldn't count it out seeing Spo try out Yurt next to Bam, because I mean, if that works out, that can be very dangerous for opposing teams with an amazing 3-level scoring center in Yurtseven and then an all defensive level Bam Adebayo, who's also amazing on the offensive end.
Yeah, if you're playing against a team that uses a really slow-footed big, Omer can work fantastic. Like, he can really, really, I think, make a difference. I think what we've seen throughout this summer league, and he's done it against good competition. Like that game against Xavier Tillman was really impressive. The way he was able to turn it on in the second half. Xavier Tillman's a pretty decent NBA rotational big. Omer completely dominated him in the second half of that basketball game, so that was impressive. But you look at the size you could potentially roll out, having Omer, having Bam as your 4. I mean, Bam playing help defense for the entire possession is one of the scariest things in the NBA. He just doesn't get a chance to do it because he's always getting switched on ball. The thing is, you have to drop with Omer. So I'm not sure exactly how that would work, but you hypothetically have Omer playing the drop. So the rim is kind of accounted for. You have Kyle Lowry playing the point of attack. You have Duncan playing help, Jimmy playing help, Bam playing help. That's terrifying.
That's terrifying.
That's terrifying. Like, there's some fun things that Spo can do, adding in this chess piece of another stretch big who's actually serviceable. Because Myers, when he played, similar archetypes offensively, which is why I compare them. When he played drop big, same thing. He just wasn't good at being big. Like, you didn't feel his presence. For Omer, you do that. Like, he makes you feel like there's a 7-footer in the paint. So it's exciting. I don't expect there to be too many minutes, but I do expect Spo to at least try it out because one of the reasons this team got bullied in the playoffs, they didn't have the ability to size up when necessary. Omer might not be a NBA rotational superstar, whatever, but he can at least give you some serviceable minutes. And if you can size up, that's more versatility. And I think that's the key point of this offseason was versatility. That's scary. Oh, sure. We can replace Duncan with PJ. The shooting is a little iffy, but that's fine. That's a scary, scary defensive lineup.
If we're up by 10, we got to lock the team down. That's what we do.
Yeah, pretty much. Especially against a team that doesn't have any pull-up threats. I'm excited. There's a lot more fun things that Spo's going to be able to do this year than he was able to do last year, just because of how many more chess pieces we have in terms of size.
Point guard now.
Well, yeah, no, the point guard obviously
I know,
like,
but
Kyle, he can guard the point of attack. But I mean, even the two-way guys like Diki and Marcus Garrett, they can do those things. So it's going to be exciting. Any last questions here before we head out? I think the Heat Summer League playoff game, I don't know who it's against, but it should be on Tuesday. So there might be a post-game stream for that. So keep your eyes out for that, my people. So it looks like we don't have any more questions. Wanted to get it to 30 minutes. We're at about 28 and a half. Johnathan, tell me about your experience yesterday being a credentialed media member.
Honestly, it was pretty wild. Like, it was the first time I've ever done anything like this. And before I want to get into that, I want to thank Ethan and 5 Reasons completely. I mean, I'm just a dude that likes talking about sports, and for them to give me this opportunity to even do this, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. But it was great, man. We got in. I got to sit with James, who was on the 5-round show with Dono. And, we actually were sitting right behind a UFC fighter. Robbie Lawler came in. I mean, Todd Gurley was there. CC Sabathia was there. So there was a couple of
wow. And this was in Miami?
Yeah, it was in Hollywood. So it was a little bit it was like 30 minutes north of Miami.
Oh, okay.
So it was
I know. Don't worry. I'm from here.
I'm not there frequent, unfortunately. I wish I was more. But yeah, it was great. I mean, I got to watch all the fights. I got to ask my first post-fight question ever, which was like I was literally shaking with my hand in the mic before I asked the question, and I was like, all right.
That's awesome though.
So it was a lot of fun, man. It was great, and I'm probably going to get to go again this weekend, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Good for you. Love to see it. I love to see people succeed.
Dude,
and you're doing that
everybody,
right.
The whole squad.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the show was pretty short today. Not too many takeaways from this entire summer league. There's 4 players that we've had our eyes on, and they pretty much keep showing out. So hopefully Marcus Garrett's able to play on Tuesday, and we get to see those 4 play once again. But for those of you guys in the comments, those donations, thank you very much. Royal, I hope you're having a fantastic Saturday afternoon. I hope the Packers exceed your expectations. If the Dolphins also exceeded your expectations, I don't know. I didn't watch that game. But yeah, thank you guys. Everybody have a great weekend. Be back most likely on Tuesday. If not, we'll be back on Twitter Spaces to let Ariel get his 2 cents in because that man knows basketball and he's smart. Have a good weekend, everybody. Play the video.
Oh, there's no video. Just take care, y'all.
Good night, guys.